Today I'm here in Jakarta, Indonesia, a city in Southeast Asia that is often overlooked. Not many people who are considering going to Southeast Asia usually come to this city. Usually people will go to cities like Bangkok, like Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. Obviously, I also like all of those cities. I think they offer amazing quality of life, amazing value, really great places to live or visit. But for some reason, there is one city here in Southeast Asia that often people don't really go to, and that is here in Jakarta, Indonesia. And I feel that when I am here, I barely see any foreigners. It is only locals here. So is there a reason why no one seems to come to Jakarta, or is this kind of a hidden gem? That is what I want to discuss in this video. As someone that has now spent a bit of time here, I'm going to tell you what I like about this city, what I think about it, and generally what are the reasons why possibly not that many people are coming here, and do I think that it is actually worth checking out or not. That is what we're going to discuss today. Obviously, these are just my first impressions. It's not like I've spent a bunch of time here. We just came here because my Indonesian girlfriend has like a visa situation that we had to take care of here in Jakarta, but at the same time I decided to check out the city and see what I think. Specifically, I've stayed in the SCBD area, the Sudirman Central Business District. That is pretty much the most modern area of Jakarta, and a couple of surrounding areas around this. So obviously my experience is going to be biased towards this modern part. I fully understand that not all of Jakarta is like this area. That is the big caveat about Jakarta, that your experience in this city is widely going to depend on where you decide to stay. If you stay in this area where I'm staying here, I've actually had a really good experience here, and in a moment I'll tell you exactly why I like it and why I do actually think it's kind of a hidden gem, something that is actually worth checking out that not many people realize. But if you choose to stay in, let's say, North Jakarta or something, or a lot of the not so nice areas, then I could fully understand why you might not like your experience here. So why do people usually avoid Jakarta? Well, the common things that people will say is, first of all, the traffic. It has been rated like the worst city in the world for traffic by some sources, although in past years it has improved from that. But the traffic here, like everyone will say, is pretty awful, and we'll discuss in a moment what I think about that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the fact that apparently there's just not that many things to do. Like, people will often say, if you read online about Jakarta, that out of all the cities in Southeast Asia, like this is the one to skip, that there just isn't as much offering here compared to cities like Bangkok or Kuala Lumpur. But now that I've spent time here, I think a lot of those opinions just come from either a long time ago when it perhaps wasn't this nice as it is now, especially in these areas, but especially from people who perhaps just go for the cheaper areas. Like, you go stay in a cheap hostel like that. Like, if you do that here in Jakarta, like, absolutely, you're probably gonna hate your time. But if you have a bit of money and you can afford to stay in the nice areas, I think it's actually a reasonable place to stay. Like, I've had a really good experience here. The best way I can describe staying here in SCBD specifically is that it almost feels like mini Singapore. It feels super modern. It's clean. The streets look nice. You can walk around. There's a lot of restaurants, a lot of great food, both international and local food. The people are obviously amazing. Like, the Indonesian people are some of my favorite people in the world, perhaps tied with Filipinos as like probably the favorite people I've out of any country I've been to. So what do I like about this place, and what do I not like about this place, and what would I actually consider Jakarta over places like Bangkok or Singapore, which I've made a lot of videos about and a lot of you guys know? Well, first of all, what I definitely like is the feeling, again, specifically in this area. It feels extremely modern and kind of like a quite high class. Actually, there's a lot of like luxury places, like nice restaurants. The people, they dress well, everything like that. You have a lot of rooftop bars, like places you can go to. As you can see, at least in this area, the streets absolutely spotless, completely clean. Love it. So I like the general vibe. Obviously, amazing food. Like I mentioned, you have a lot of great international food, and Indonesian food, at least for me personally, is also really good. It's also obviously super affordable. You can get a lot of great value here when it comes to food or your accommodation. I'll show you this apartment where I'm staying in a moment. And generally, you can get like the vibes of KLCC if you've been there, or if you've been to Manila, there is the area called BGC, which is like the modern part of Manila. It's kind of like that. It's kind of this like pocket of like mini Singapore, like in the middle of the chaos of Jakarta. And a big underrated benefit for a lot of people is that it's not full of Western tourists, like a place like Bali, or even if you go to Bangkok, there's just a lot of foreigners there. So if you really like to be surrounded by more like local culture, like locals, you're really gonna get that here. Like when I walk around, I barely see any other foreigners because this place is just not that popular with foreigners, and to me that's quite refreshing, and a lot of people might like that. But obviously that might also mean that perhaps people don't speak English that well or something like that, although I found that they speak English perfectly fine, again, especially in this area. Although I'm learning Indonesian, the language, so often I'll just speak Indonesian to them, so I can't comment too much about that. And obviously, again, the big pro in Indonesia in general is that the people are just so welcoming, always super nice, always smiling. Like people say Thailand is the land of the smiles or whatever, but to me Indonesia is the land of the smile. Like Thai people are also amazing, but to me Indonesia just has the best, the friendliest people everywhere. And it's also like quite convenient here. Like just like in pretty much anywhere in Southeast Asia, you can get anything delivered. They have Gojek or Grab, the apps that you can use to get food delivered. Like you can get pretty much anything delivered. Like we had to do our laundry and we could just like order delivery. The delivery driver would bring our laundry to the laundry place, and then when it was done, we ordered another Gojek delivery to bring the delivery back to us. Alright, so this is where we have been staying. It is a 1-bedroom apartment in a building called Residence 8. I believe it's one of the best buildings in this area. Feels quite luxurious. I'm actually very impressed with the build quality and everything. It's also very loud outside, but you can't hear anything inside because the noise insulation is very good, which is a very welcome thing in Southeast Asia. You don't always get that. So this is the main living space. You have a small dining table, like a bar table over here, rice cooker, some cabinet space, a small kitchen area, water dispenser, which is quite standard everywhere in Indonesia. And Airbnbs, you get that with free water, which we have a bunch of over here. Here we are, we got a sofa, TV, an amazing view, which I'll show in a second. And then over here, we get to the bedroom area. We have a working desk as well, which is actually really nice to have. Then we have the double bed, this kind of area over here that my girlfriend's be using to get ready, go myself. And then the toilet over here, again, feels very nice. And this whole building just feels very nice, like quite luxurious. Pretty good value. I mean, it's not the cheapest. I paid this much for around 9 days or 10 days over here. But before we leave, let me just show you the outside, the balcony. Here we have a view of the entire city. You can see, especially today, the air pollution is quite bad. You can barely even see those buildings over here. But that is definitely a downside here. As you can see, it's just very, very luxurious, very modern, nice. You have like a nice mall down here with a ton of restaurants, like shopping, everything like that. Almost feels like malls in Singapore or Dubai or something like that, especially in this area. Very much worth checking out Jakarta. But now back to the video. So talking about the cons, obviously you have the traffic, but if you just stay within this area, like you pretty much have everything within this area. So which is why, again, it really matters where you stay. Then you can mitigate this because you don't necessarily have to deal with the traffic all that much, because you can walk to any restaurants you go to, you can get food delivered, like you can just live your life entirely within this area. But if you need to be going around the city from like the south to the north a lot of the time, then you're probably not going to have a good time, especially if you have to do that in rush hour, because if you get stuck in the traffic, it can be really bad. For the first time in my life, we actually entirely missed a dinner reservation because we just got so stuck in traffic that we got to the restaurant even like well past the holding time of the table, which usually never happens to me, but I was just not quite prepared for like how bad the traffic can get in those peak hours. So that is obviously a big con. The other big con, and probably the biggest one for me, is the air pollution. Now we're here in the dry season, so in the wet season it might not be as bad, but the air quality number is regularly above 100, often above even 150, like especially this morning. I'm going to show you now what it looks like from my window. Like you can see this building in the distance, but you can barely even like see them because there's so much air pollution. Now, obviously, again, in a place like this, you'll mostly stay inside. When you go outside, you can wear a mask, things like that. Don't keep your window open, have an air purifier. So like you can mitigate these things, obviously, but that is just gonna be a big con, and is obviously also a big con in a lot of other Southeast Asian cities like Bangkok. However, here the trend seems to be, for some reason, and there's like a technical reason for this, but the air pollution is worse during the night than during the day. So if you look at like some air quality monitors online, or like what the air quality number is for Jakarta during the day, which is when you'd probably be outside, is probably not quite as much, but even then it's not great here. Like you probably don't want to like be like running outside or something like that. So that is going to be a big con. And you should also be aware that there are, especially in the rainy season, a lot of flooding and things like that. But I believe, as far as I'm aware, a lot of that is going to be in the north, not here in the south of Jakarta. So again, if you just choose the right area, that's not something that is really going to be a problem for you. But in general, Jakarta is a city that is actually sinking, and that is why they have literally moved the capital to another city. Now, Jakarta is still the biggest city, the business center, still like a lot of people moving here, everything like that. But that is just something to be aware of, that literally by like 2030, 2040, some parts of the city are literally going to be underwater, which I don't know exactly how that would affect you if you live in the parts where that won't happen, but that is just something that is also good to be aware of. So in general, I would actually say that Jakarta is quite underrated, especially if you do stay in SCBD, in these nice areas. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if you want like more of a local experience. Now, would I choose Jakarta over Bangkok, over Singapore, over Dubai? No, I probably wouldn't. Like, I would still say those cities offer more. They're gonna have better air quality, traffic isn't quite as bad, things like that. But like for a certain person who perhaps wants more of a local experience, you want to spend less money, because here, I mean, it's all local, so you're not going to have like tourist prices as you might have even in a place like Bangkok. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you like a city like Kuala Lumpur in KLCC, I see no reason why you wouldn't also like it here. Now, I definitely want to come back. I want to come back to check it out a lot more. I want to stay a bit longer to really see what I think about this, but those are just my honest impressions. Let me know down below in the comments if you've been here, what you think about it, and I will see you in the next video.